सिर्फ एक पेज आपका जहां पे आपके उसमें जितने कंटेंट आपका दिया गया है दैट आई हैव समराइज. सो यू कैन एक्सपेक्ट आपका ऑन एन एवरेज हाफ मार्क्स टू 1 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन. इफ इट इज 1 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन, ठीक है, तो ये सारे स्टेटमेंट्स आपका. इफ इट इज हाफ मार्क्स क्वेश्चन, फॉर श्योर आई कैन बेट आपका जो हाफ मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन होगा ना वो आपका इस टर्म के अराउंड आपका होगा. ठीक है, सो यू हैव टू बिल्ड योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग अराउंड दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग. ठीक है दोस्तों, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स आपका यूनिट नंबर 7, इंपॉर्टेंट वन. ठीक है, इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स आपका. तो यहाँ पे जो फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर रिफॉर्म्स आपके हैं, एंड वी हैव अ सॉर्ट ऑफ introduction to Narsimham Committee 1, 2 or the other reforms in Indian financial system, so they are also part of this particular one. ठीक है, now I got, please quickly go through this particular one. ठीक है, very good evening Nandini ma'am. So whether the single is enough to clear ये आप ऐसे लोग ऐसी चीजें पूछ लेते हो ना तो लाइक आई पूरा एकदम टेंशन में आ जाता हूँ मैं. ठीक है, see I have done unit wise MCQs. If you have gone through that particular one then I can say yes, but if you'll say कि हाँ this is the one concept, for concept part, because now you do not have that entire months or entire 3 months and all. ठीक है, so in limited time duration this is आपका, this is the kind of things, that's why I kept the name आपका ब्रह्मास्त्र. This is the final battle आपका for concept things and all. ठीक है, so what I can recommend, I have already uploaded unit module wise compilation covering each and every single unit from every module. ठीक है, so go through those particular one and practice, revise, then my answer is yes. Parvinder sir is how we can cover AFM in 1.5 day before the exam. ठीक है, हाँ परविंदर सर सी अभी ना लाइक व्हाट आई पर्सनली सजेस्ट, डू नॉट थिंक अबाउट AFM, PPV, RVWM. ठीक है, तो अब उनको थोड़ा सा ना साइड रखिए. रीजन बीइंग, सी इफ यू स्कोर गुड इन IE IFS आपका प्रिपरेशन खुद ही डबल हो जाना है. ठीक है, अगर यहाँ पे आप कुछ गड़बड़ कर गए तो फिर मामला पूरा गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. ठीक है, सो नाउ दैट टाइम गॉन. ठीक है, कि हमारे पास टाइम होता, मैं आपको बोलता कॉन्सेप्ट समरी पढ़िए, आपका MCQs पढ़िए. हाँ, आफ्टर दिस ऑल्सो इफ यू आर गेटिंग टाइम प्लीज डू पिंग मी ऑन टेलीग्राम, आई विल हेल्प यू आउट कैसे आप कर सकते हैं चीजें इसके साथ साथ. बट दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स कि जहां पे 90% आप यहाँ पे लग जाइए बिल्कुल. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये पेपर ना इतना टफ बनाया जा सकता है, दे कैन गो अप टू UPSC लेवल, स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड एंड ऑल. ठीक है, व्हाट आई सी समटाइम पीपल दे आर लाइक क्वेश्चन आंसर चल रहे हैं एंड वी आर वेरी हैप्पी, वो आपका मैकमिलन लेवल के क्वेश्चन हैं. ठीक है, व्हेन यू एक्चुअली गो लाइक जब आप कंप्यूटर के सामने होंगे ना आपको लगेगा वो स्क्रीन छोटा पड़ गया उनके लिए, अगर वो थोड़ा 1-2 स्टेटमेंट और डाल देता उसमें फॉर 2 मार्कर एंड 1 मार्कर क्वेश्चन, एंड दे आर गेम चेंजर. हाफ मार्कर इज ओनली फॉर 20 क्वेश्चन एंड आई कैन बेट कि आप 20 में से 20 नहीं कर पाओगे. आप 20 अगर कर भी दिया फिर भी 20 मार्क्स मिलेगा. व्हाट अबाउट द रिमेनिंग 30 मार्क्स इफ इट इज ओनली अबाउट द पास थिंग. सो प्लीज डू टेक केयर अराउंड दीज थिंग्स. ठीक है, तो इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स, whenever we talk about economic reforms, LPG comes very first, 1991-92, and they are one of the most kind of we can say important reforms for Indian economy. ठीक है, तो जहां से we start liberalization means आपका we start relaxing policies and all. We means government. Privatization, we start giving license to the private parties in core businesses also, and we start like कि जो प्राइवेट पार्टिसिपेशन है उनके लिए लाइसेंसिंग इन अदर्स, दैट वाज पार्ट ऑफ दिस वन आल्सो. ग्लोबलाइजेशन, वी स्टार्ट इंटरेक्टिंग विद अदर इकोनॉमीज. आपका जो चीजें हमारे पास नहीं है उनको लाए और जो है उनको आपका एक्सपोर्ट करना स्टार्ट किया. ठीक है, परविंदर सर एंड वाज नेक्स्ट नंदिनी मैम. क्लियर? सो बैंकिंग सेक्टर रिफॉर्म्स, दिस इज समथिंग वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड हाफ मार्क्स क्वेश्चन आपका आपके स्क्रीन पे है. ठीक है, हाफ मार्क्स क्वेश्चन इज ऑन योर स्क्रीन गाइस, बिलीव मी. ठीक है, तो ध्यान रखें इसका, थोड़ा सा आपको उस तरीके से वो करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, आंसर भी उस तरीके से ही करने पड़ेंगे आप लोगों को. सो बैंकिंग सेक्टर रिफॉर्म्स हैव फोकस इंप्रूविंग एफिशिएंसी, कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस एंड स्टेबिलिटी. टू अचीव दिस द गवर्नमेंट स्टैब्लिश सेवरल कमिटीज. अब ये कमिटीज के ऊपर हाफ मार्क्स क्वेश्चन, कौन सा कमेटी कब बना, किससे रिलेटेड था. ठीक है, तो पहला चक्रवर्ती कमेटी आपका मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इन 1985, Narsimham Committee Financial Sector Reforms 1991, and it got effected from April 1992. कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है. ठीक है, पद्मभान कमेटी आपका रिव्यू ऑफ बैंक सुपरविजन 1996, नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 आपका, ठीक है, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट कमेटीज हैं ये दो, नरसिम्हम 1 एंड 2। बैंकिंग सेक्टर रिफॉर्म्स 1997 इट वाज द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन फॉर्मेशन, एंड जो इनके रिकमेंडेशंस थे दे वी स्टार्ट अडॉप्टिंग फ्रॉम 1998, ठीक है। वर्मा कमेटी, दिस वाज द क्वेश्चन, लास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन वाज बेस्ड ऑन वर्मा कमेटी, हाफ मार्क्स क्वेश्चन, कि इट वाज रिलेटेड टू, आपका किस एरिया से रिलेटेड था, तो इट इज रिलेटेड टू वीक बैंकिंग, आपका वीक बैंक्स आपका, ठीक है। Then we have R.H. Khan Committee, harmonization of role of financial institutions and bank to assess and recommended improvement for these sectors आपका, ठीक है दोस्तों। तो प्लीज ध्यान रखिएगा इनको, एक बार एग्जाम सेंटर में घुसने से पहले ये जो रिमेनिंग कमिटीज है ना, थोड़ा सा इनको ध्यान रखें। अब ओवरऑल अगर हम लोग डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, if you go with the overall development, yes, so we have pre-independence phase means before 1947, ठीक है। so early beginning आपका banking system के अंदर, so we have first bank in India, Bank of Hindustan 1770 which got established in Calcutta, ठीक है। Alexander and Company जिसने इसको establish किया था, ठीक है। Establishment of major bank, State Bank of India, originally founded as Bank of Calcutta, ठीक है, Bank of Calcutta 1806, then it become Imperial Bank after merging of three Presidency Bank 1921, 1955 with the help of or with the enactment of SBI Act, it become आपका SBI 1955. So other सी movements आपका establishment of Punjab National Bank, Indian Capital in Salt, where we have Bank of India, Punjab National Bank. Regulatory frameworks, we established RBI in 1935 अंडर आरबीआई एक्ट 1934, ठीक है। पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस आपका, ठीक है, 1947 टू मिड 80s विच इज ऑल्सो नोन एज आपका नेशनलाइजेशन फेज, बहुत सारे बैंक आपका नेशनलाइज हुए थे इस दौरान, ठीक है। सो नेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ आरबीआई वाज नेशनलाइज ऑन 1st of जनवरी 1949 अंडर विच एक्ट, कौन सा एक्ट था ये कौन बताएगा, ठीक है। आरबीआई गॉट नेशनलाइज अंडर विच एक्ट, हु विल टेल दिस पर्टिकुलर वन, प्लीज आंसर बताइए, ठीक है। बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट 1949 इंट्रोड्यूस टू रेगुलेट एंड कंट्रोल बैंक इन इंडिया। नेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ मेजर बैंक 1969 आपका 14 बैंक, ठीक है, एंड आपका 6 बैंक, ठीक है, आपका 150 करोड़ एंड आपका 100 crores. Major banks were 200 crores, sorry, ठीक है, nationalized during this particular period. For RRBs आपका 1975 established to cater rural population, and now we have some sort of one bank, one RRB, one state, one RRB वाला thing and all. ये काफी ज्यादा न्यूज में भी है, तो थोड़ा सा RRBs का जो कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन एंड ऑल है दैट विल कम, अभी आगे आएगा, तो उसको आपको ध्यान रखना है, ठीक है दोस्तों। RBI got nationalized under RBI Transfer of Public Ownership Act 1948, ठीक है। There are some sort of confusion among the people कि RBI got nationalized under this. No, this is a completely different act. RBI got nationalized under RBI Transfer of Public Ownership Act 19 आपका 48. Please do remember this one. ठीक है, सुना है ना ये आप लोगों ने। Then आपका लिबरलाइजेशन एंड रिफॉर्म्स 1991, नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 and 2, लिबरलाइजेशन एंड एंट्री ऑफ न्यू बैंक्स, ठीक है। Then we have prudential norms, which was the recommendation of Narsimham Committee. Technological advancement, focus on financial inclusion, insolvency and bankruptcy code IBC 2016, ठीक है। IBBA जो इसको पूरा हैंडल करता है। Consolidation in public sector banks, जहां पे we merge few banks, आपका कुछ public sector banks जिनको आपस में merge किया गया, ठीक है। Present status, we are working around the digital revolution, asset quality changes, global integration and COVID-19 pandemic impact, or even that is 7.0 is the current variant, ठीक है, तो जहां पे हमें आपका देखने के लिए मिलेगा। तो फर्स्ट फेज ऑफ रिफॉर्म्स which generally comes under this, which we have discussed so far, ठीक है, तो अभी हमने इसमें थोड़ा बहुत डिस्कशन किया है। नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वन, ठीक है, तो ये आपका जैसे आउटलाइन बाय द नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 आप फरवरी 1992 जब से इंप्लीमेंट हुआ था, नॉट अप्रैल सॉरी, ठीक है। एम टू इंप्रूव द फाइनेंशियल हेल्थ एंड एफिशिएंसी ऑफ कमर्शियल बैंक इन इंडिया, ठीक है। सो व्हाट वाज द आपका सजेशंस क्या क्या थे? कैपिटल एडिकेसी नॉर्म्स, प्रोग्रेसिव रिडक्शन ऑफ सीआरआर, कैश रिजर्व रेशियो एंड एसएलआर, ठीक है। डीरेगुलेशन ऑफ लैंडिंग रेट, ये पॉइंटर्स होंगे, दीज विल बी द पॉइंटर्स ऑफ योर क्वेश्चन कि आपका नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 से रिलेटेड कौन से स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है या नहीं है, ठीक है। क्रेडिट डिलीवरी इंप्रूवमेंट्स, डेट रिकवरी ट्रिब्यूनल्स आपका, ठीक है, देन अ स्ट्रॉन्ग सुपरवाइजरी सिस्टम, एंट्री ऑफ न्यू प्राइवेट बैंक एंड मर्जर एंड amalgamation was the part of this one, ठीक है. So basically the major functions or major feature of नरसिम्हम कमेटी can be summarized as आपका कमेटी recommended capital adequacy norms to strengthen the फाइनेंशियल अपोजिशन. कितना था CAR एज पर नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1, व्हाट वाज द लेवल आपका, कौन बताएगा जल्दी से बताओ. एज पर द नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 व्हाट वाज द CAR कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी रेशियो और CRAR जिसको अभी हम बोलते हैं, ठीक है, कितने पे इन्होंने सजेस्ट किया था आपका, बताओ जरा. DRT डेट रिकवरी ट्रिब्यूनल्स वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड टू स्पीड अप द लोन रिकवरी. Then we have आपका committee recommended in progressive reduction, not आपका basically reduction of CRR and SLR, ठीक है. Reforms allow entry of new private banks. A strong supervisory system was introduced, ठीक है. So these are some major recommendations of नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 आपका. So what was the क्यों नहीं बता रहे आप लोग यार, बहुत आसान क्वेश्चन मैंने पूछा. What was the ratio? It was 8%. It was aligned with the Basel 1, ठीक है. सो जो Basel 1 आपका था 1988, उसमें रिकमेंड किया गया था कि कंट्रीज और बैंक्स और इंस्टीट्यूशन दे शुड हैव 8% of CAR, ठीक है, कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी रिक्वायरमेंट्स. लेटर ऑन विद नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2, व्हेन इट कम्स to the नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2, we increase it to by 1%, so it become 9%, जो आज भी हमारे यहाँ पे 9%. तो 1998 आपका, ठीक है, when मतलब दिस बेसल सॉरी नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 केम, तो हमने इसको बढ़ा करके कितना किया था आपका 19%, सॉरी 9% आपका, ठीक है. सो 1998, हाँ देखो यहाँ पे है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया स्टेब्लिश द नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 चेयर्ड बाय नरसिम्हम टू रिव्यू द प्रोग्रेस ऑफ बैंकिंग सेक्टर रिफॉर्म्स, जो हमने वहां पे आपका रिकमेंडेशन दिए थे कैसे काम करें, एंड स्ट्रेंथन द इंडियन फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम फॉर ग्लोबल कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस. The second phase of reforms focus on deregulation of branch licensing, implementation of prudential norms and disclosure requirements, and strengthening capital adequacy requirements. And now CAR become 9% आपका, ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे हमारा जो 9% में वो एंटर किया, ठीक है दोस्तों, क्लियर है सबको. तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट है नरसिम्हम कमेटी 1 and 2, फॉर श्योर 1 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन. अब ये हो सकता है हाफ मार्क्स से 2 क्वेश्चन हो, डाउन साइड 1 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन अगर पेपर का लेवल टफ होगा, और आपका 2 मार्कर क्वेश्चन हो सकता है इफ इट इज काइंड ऑफ अगर आपका पेपर थोड़ा सा इजियर साइड पे होता है, तो सेम नरसिम्हम कमेटी के ऊपर आपको 2 क्वेश्चन देखने के लिए मिलेंगे, ठीक है. सो दिस इज द डिटेल वन, प्लीज गो थ्रू दिस वन, एक बार जरूर पढ़िए सभी लोग. एंड दोज हु आर लाइव, इफ यू नीड एनी हेल्प प्लीज डू लेट मी नो, कहाँ पे मैं आपकी हेल्प कर सकता हूँ अभी भी, ठीक है. अभी भी लेट नहीं हुआ है, अब भूल जाओ और पेपर को अभी के लिए, ठीक है, और अभी फोकस करिए IN IFS पे. यूनिट वाइज MCQs का कंपाइलेशन ऑलरेडी है, मॉड्यूल वाइज हालांकि रिवीजन हम लोग करेंगे, कॉन्सेप्ट हम आज यहाँ पे कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. तो इस तरीके से हम रेगुलर लेके चलेंगे चीज़ों को. बट इफ़ यू आर फेसिंग सम चैलेंजेस कि PDF नहीं मिल रहा है, क्विज प्रैक्टिस नहीं हो पा रहा है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, तो प्लीज़ बताइए, ठीक है. आई एम हियर, तब ये लाइव का तभी फायदा, अदरवाइज इट कैन बी इन रिकॉर्डेड ऑल्सो, ठीक है. सो 1998 आपका मीन्स नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 which recommended strengthening of Indian bank. So strong banking system for managing domestic liquidity and exchange rate. Recommended merger of strong bank to enhance industry. 100 मतलब बहुत ही important है guys, ठीक है. Narrow banking system address high NPAs up to 20% of asset in some public sector bank by proposing narrow banking concept where weak bank would invest only in short term risk free assets of the rehabilitations, ठीक है. कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी रेशियो वी इंक्रीज टू 9% टू इंप्रूव द बैंकिंग सिस्टम स्ट्रेंथ एंड लॉस ऑब्जर्विंग कैपेसिटी इज वेल, ठीक है. बैंक ओनरशिप, द रिकमेंडेशंस नोटेड, ये मतलब कंटिन्यूएशन है उसी का, कंफ्यूज मत होइएगा, ठीक है. सो द रिकमेंडेशन नोटेड दैट गवर्नमेंट कंट्रोल ओवर बैंक मैनेजमेंट एंड ओनरशिप लिमिट द बैंक ऑटोनॉमी, रिकमेंडिंग अ रिव्यू of board of directors to enable professional corporate strategies, ठीक है. Review of banking laws, Committee identify an urgent need to review and amend major laws like RBI Act, BR Act, SBI Act, Nationalization Act to align with the banking current needs. Additional recommendations like faster computerization, आपका technology upgradation, staff training, depoliticizing banks, and professionalism in banking and reviewing bank recruitment process आपका. So these were the recommendations of your नरसिम्हम कमेटी 2 आपका. ठीक है दोस्तों, चलो. So steps toward the liberalization in other sectors आपका. ठीक है. So this is the list आपका जहां पे जैसे import de-licensing, ठीक है, import duties reduce, production licensing done away with, then आपका licensing raj abolish, ठीक है. Then we have trade policy reforms, fiscal reforms, exchange rate unpegged. Then we have foreign exchange regulation relaxed through FEMA. Earlier it was FERA, which is something conservative in nature. Then FDI norms आपका relax किए गए, disinvestment in public sector. So these many initiatives which are generally taken by the governments to liberalize our economy. ठीक है, तो जहां पे ये सारी चीजें आपका, ये सारे इनिशिएटिव्स जो हमें देखने के लिए मिले हैं. ठीक है, रिफॉर्म्स इन इंडियन इकोनॉमी. ठीक है, सो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, which of the following statement about economic reforms in India are correct? ठीक है, so I hope you will be able to solve this particular one because planning commission planning in Indian economy. Then we talk around the different units like the last one was something related to globalization. So now this is the one. So you can build that link, topic to topic link, and hope you will be able to solve this one. Okay, so let's go with the statements. Okay. So economic reforms aim to increase government intervention. No, the first statement is wrong. Okay. Government intervention in market to correct the distortions. Okay. This is wrong. Okay. So basically it is all about the liberalization or the globalization things, which minimize the government interventions. The economic reforms in 1980s were influenced by London consensus. No, it is not from the London itself. It was driven by the from the Washington DC. Okay? There was one economist Williamson, okay, who generally come up with this, and it is something which is kind of an outcome of the major global financial organization, including IMF, World Bank, and US Treasury itself. Because so during 1980s, 1989, they have a summit into US itself, Washington DC, and they discuss the role of like how developing countries, they can work on their existing policies, and the overall worldwide taxation policies or the ease of doing business and all. That was the core agendas of this particular one. It is not London. It is the meeting was held in Washington DC itself, right? So this is also incorrect here. India's 1991 economic reforms were triggered by factors such as adverse balance payment, yes, low foreign exchange reserve, very true, and high government debt, this is also correct. Okay? So statement 3 is 100% right. The 1990s economic reforms were broader in scope compared to the limited deregulation of 1980s. This is also true. Okay? So 1980s were influenced by London, no, Washington, 100% sure. This is also true. So what we have to find out, correct statement, that means option C will be right. Only two statements are correct. These are option 3 and option 4. Okay? So statement 1 is correct. Economic reforms focus on reducing government interventions. The another one is Washington it is consensus influence India's 1980s reforms. I just want to just check the few things. So I'll just read out the statement, though it is not part of your course curriculum, but it is an important thing or new things. So if you talk about the Washington consensus referred to an act of economic policy recommendations primarily promoted by IMF, World Bank, and US Treasury, which emphasizes free market principle and reducing state intervention in developing countries, particularly in 1980s and 1990s. So the key areas. So the person name was the it is led by or Washington consensus was coined by John Williamson in 1989. Okay? And if you talk about the key principle, it was fiscal discipline, okay? Fiscal discipline, tax reforms, financial liberalization, trade liberalization, privatization, deregulation, and property rights. So these were the key areas which generally get discussed during these particular period. Okay? Rest two statements are correct. Okay? Next one, guys. Which of the following is not an objective of India's 1991 economic reforms? Okay? So 1991 economic reforms. Okay? So not an objective. Okay? High economic growth, it was part of the LPG model or new economic reforms policy. Okay? Lowering inflation, it is also part of that one. Okay? Increasing restriction on private sector, no, it was decreasing restrictions on private sector, so it was not part of or not an objective of new economic reforms. Okay? Maximizing current account deficit, again wrong, it is minimizing current account deficit. Okay? So not an objective. 3 and 4, 3 and 4 means, okay, these options are aligned in a wrong way. Okay? So what we can do, we can change this one. Okay? 3 and 4. Okay? So 3 and 4. So D will be right answer for this one. Okay? 3 for sure, 100% sure. It is 3 and 4. Okay? So these are this is a very common topic also. Okay? So 1991 reforms which came through the LPG model, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Reforms abolish restriction on the private sector to increase industrial and economic growth. The reform aimed at high economic growth, reducing inflation, minimizing current account deficit, and adhering to the balance of payment issues and all. So that was, these are the some core areas of that particular plan itself. Next one. Consider the following statement regarding the economic reforms of 1991 in India. So liberalization led to the removal of industrial licensing in most sectors except those related to security and strategic concern. 100% true. Security like atomic energy or railways and all, they were not part of the privatization things, or in case of even liberalization also, we generally make policies liberal, and we start giving license to private parties and all. So statement 1 is right. Liberalization led to removal of industrial licensing in most sectors. This okay. Privatization result in the other one is privatization result in complete withdrawal of government from all public sector. No, this is wrong. That was not a complete withdrawal. But we start giving license to private parties. So this statement is wrong. Globalization facilitated by entry of foreign capital through FDI, FIIs, technology, knowledge, and boosting domestic industries and international trade. 100% true. Okay, so what we have to find out? Correct statement. Yes, we have to find out the correct statement. Means 1 and 3 will be right answer for this particular one. So option A only is the right answer for this particular one. So statement 2 was incorrect. Reason being, privatization did not result in complete withdrawal of government from public sector enterprise. Instead, it promote disinvestment and private participation in select industries also. Right. Next one. Okay, so let's have a look around these three things. The economic change introduced in 1991, which is known as New Economic Policy, were the result of severe economic crisis caused by the arising in external debt. The crisis occurred mostly as consequences of poor economic management in the 1980s. The reform were broadly known as LPG reforms. Liberalization Liberalization was conceived with the idea that regulation imposed on trade agreements must be relaxed, favor for trade to thrive. It enabled the opening up of Indian economies frontiers for international investors and multinationals. Several economic reforms enforced by liberalization, including enhanced production capacity, evolution of government industrial licensing, and liberty to import goods. Okay, that generally comes under liberalization measure. Okay. Second one was privatization. Privatization referred to providing private sector more opportunities to oversee various services while limiting the role of public sector. Privatization introduced in India as a part of reforms invited more and more foreign participation and FDI flow, providing healthy competition to Indian goods and services. Third one is globalization. Globalization in India, in the context of economic reforms, refer to the integration of Indian economy with the global economies. Global economy. It signifies the Indian economy will now be more dependent on the global economy and vice versa. It increased FDI and international trade with various countries. Due to various globalization policies, India could be able to attract foreign capital, technology, and knowledge to boost its domestic capacity, right? So this is the three pillars of new economic reforms. They are generally known as LPG, or it is the entire model is called LPG model: liberalization, privatization, globalization. Simply saying, it is ease of government rules, norms, and all. It is the involvement of private participations. Or the third one is basically integration of Indian economy with rest of the world, right? Chalo. Next one, guys. India's economic liberalization 1991 was influenced by multiple factors leading to significant reforms. Analyze the following statement and identify the correct one. So you have given 7 statements and you have to find out the correct ones. Okay? So statement 1, India's planned economy from 1960 to 1980 resulted in an average annual growth rate of 3%, much lower than the Asian tigers, 100% true. Statement 1. Before liberalization, India's export were primarily a focus on the USA and European market, contributing to steady economic growth. No, this is, we were not, like, before liberalization, our focus was USSR. Okay, that Russia, Soviet Sangh, Rus was the primary focus. Post liberalization, we explore USA or other European countries and all. This make this a statement wrong here. The Gulf War 1990 caused crude oil prices to more than double, severely impacting the Indian economy also, import bills. By June 1991, India's forex reserve had dropped to less than 1.1 billion US dollar, covering only 3 week imports. 100% true. As like उस समय की अगर हम import exports को देखते हैं, so we have only like this much of reserve, forex reserve. With that, we can do imports for only three weeks itself. Okay? Nowadays, like our export reserve or this forex reserve is about 700 billion US dollar. With that, we can do trade or imports for next 7 months, for the next 18 to 20 months, not 7 months. Okay? So see the differences after this particular one. Okay? The IMF granted India 3.9 billion US loan with the condition of economic liberalization requiring significant financial reforms. 100% true. The Narsimham Committee Narsimham Committee 1 means 1991-92 recommended maintaining high interest rate. No, it is maintaining low interest rate control to ensure financial stability. So this is wrong. One of the key banking sector reform was the establishment of 4-tier banking structure with large bank at top, rural bank at bottom. This is also true. So the only 2 statements are wrong, rest all are correct. That means 13457 134 no not 6 113 so option A is the right answer for this one. Okay, so option A for sure it is the right answer for this one. Only two statements were wrong. Statement 2, before liberalization India mainly exported to USSR and Eastern Bloc countries, not to USA in this. And statement 6 was incorrect due to the Narsimham Committee 1 1992 recommended deregulation of interest rate, not maintaining a high interest rate, right? So that is the one. Next one, which committee was formed in 1998 to address weak bank in India? Okay, so with this particular question, we are going to discuss all these committees related to banking system. There were lots of committees in between 90 to 2000. Okay, so this is something related to Verma committee. Okay? So if you talk about the weak bank, okay, so how to provide the strength and all, and how to work on these weak banks and all. So there was one committee which was led by Verma committee, okay, which is known as Verma committee. Okay? So the Verma committee 1998 was formed to address issues related to weak banks and suggest measure for their improvements. Okay? So now with this particular chart, we are going to discuss all these banking committees or banking sector reforms. Okay? So banking sector reform have aimed at making Indian financial sector efficient, competitive and stable. To enhance the overall performance of banking sector, government form numerous committees followed by their recommendation and all. To name few, like Chakrabarti Committee on monetary policy. So Chakrabarti Committee was based on monetary policy 1985. Narsimham Committee 1 financial sector reforms 1991. 1991 92 basically. So they get implemented from 1992, but the committee was 1991. Padmabhan Committee. So Padmabhan Committee review bank supervision 1996. Narsimham Committee 2 1998 review of banking sector reforms. So 8 it got implemented 97. If you'll get that kind of confusion. So 8 आपका usually what we say the recommendation implemented from 1998 and that is 1992. Okay. Verma Committee weak banks 1998. R.H. Khan Committee on harmonization of role of financial institution and bank 1998. So here we have the complete list also. So please do refer this particular list for your preparation one. Okay, so now let's have a quick look around the overall development of Indian economy or the overall reforms in Indian economy. Okay? So this we have discussed in past also, but with a quick or summary glance, we'll going through these particular one. Okay? So early beginning 18th century, Bank of Hindustan established in 1770, Calcutta, the very first Bank of India. Okay? Then establishment of major bank, State Bank of India, originally founded as Bank of Calcutta in 1806. Then all three presidency bank got merged in 1921. We formed Imperial Bank. Then it got renamed as SBI in 1955. Okay? Swadeshi Movement Bank, where we have establishment with Indian capital, Bank of India, Punjab National Bank and all. Regulatory framework, RBI Act 1934 and Banking Regulation Act 1956, but it is about the pre-independence. So RBI Act 1934 through which we generally form a central bank. Okay? That is known as RBI with effective from 1st April 1935. Okay? Phase 2 post independence and this. Okay? So nationalization of RBI 1949 under RBI Transfer of Public Ownership Act 1948. Okay? Then Banking Regulation Act आपका introduced to regulate and control bank. Nationalization of major bank 1969, 14 major bank with 50 crores capital. In 1986 other bank with 200 crore rupees capital. Okay? Formation of regional rural banks 1975 with the establishment of very first RRB, that was your Prathama Gramin Bank. Okay? Then we have phase 3 liberalization reforms. Okay? Narsimham Committee 1991 and 1998 recommendation for financial sector reforms leading to a roadmap for banking sector liberalization. Liberalization and entry of new banks, prudential norms and Basel Accords. Then we have technical advancement, focus on financial inclusion, insolvency and bankruptcy code 2016, consolidation in public sector banks, which is something related to merging of these public sector banks. Then present status, digital revolution, asset quality challenges, and we have global integration and COVID-19 impact also. So this is, these reforms are something related to banking sector reforms, and we have discussed these particular one in detail in our some of unit. There was one unit in module C itself, banking sector reforms आपका, ठीक है. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं, next one. Which of the following about the Narsimham Committee 1 1992 and its banking reforms are correct? Okay, so very important one. So this, like ये जो सब topic है, this is part of your 2 units. Okay, so there is high probability you'll get, for sure you'll get one question based on either on Narsimham 1 or आपका 2. ठीक है. If you have some sort of confusion कि if examiner asks Narsimham committee was came in which year, my answer is 1992. Or the another recommendation, they generally get implemented in 1998. Okay? Do not confuse about 1991 formation or the other 1997 or a thing. Okay? So the committee recommended the introduction of capital adequacy norms with alignment of the Basel 1 guidelines. ठीक है. So Basel आपका जो 1 था, that get introduced in 1988, but with the recommendation of Narsimham Committee 1 itself, we start implementing Basel guidelines itself, ठीक है, which include like Basel 1 norms was purely inclined toward the capital adequacy requirement. So where they generally suggest to maintain CAR of 8%, exactly we also implement that particular one in our banking system. Okay? The reforms led to establishment of debt recovery tribunals to improve the loan recovery. This is also true. Okay? So in 1993 or somewhere, we passed the Debt Recovery Act something. I just missed that name. The committee suggests an increase. No, it is not increase. It is decrease of SLR and CRR. This statement is wrong. One of the key recommendation was the entry of new private sector bank. True. The reform introduced a strong supervisory system to monitor banking operation. True. Okay? So correct statement 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. That means option B will be right answer for this particular one. Okay? So only statement this was incorrect. The committee recommended a progressive reduction, not an increase in the CRR and SLR. It is something related to progressive reduction in CRR and SLR, not the increments. So if you talk about the first phase of reforms in banking sector, Narsimham Committee 1992. So the to rebuild financial health of commercial bank and to make their functioning efficient and profitable, Government of India appointed high level committee, the Committee on Financial System. Okay? So under the chairmanship of M. Narsimham, based on the committee recommendation, RBI in February 1992, basically this high level committee was constructed by government in 1991, but the recommendations become effective once RBI come up with their notice or issue guidelines in 1992. The new guidelines on income recognition, asset qualification and provisioning requirement, the new standard put the banking sector attention to credit risk and recovery management. Okay? So few were the important guidelines or reforms that took place in 1992 in our banking system were capital adequacy norms, CAR with 8%. Initially we apply this particular one with 8%. Progressive reduction in CRR and SLR, deregulation of lending rates, credit delivery, DRT, formation of DRTs, a strong supervisory system, entry to new private bank, merger and amalgamations. Okay, so these were some key improvements along with these particular one. Okay, आगे बढ़ते हैं next one. Which of the following statement about the second phase of banking reforms, Narsimham Committee 2 1998, so 1998 are correct? So the reform emphasizes the phase implementation of international best practices to reduce banking risk. True. The focus areas of the reform include NPA, capital adequacy, diversification of operations. The reform led to immediate privatization of major. No, there is public sector. No, it is not the recommendation. So 1 and 2, that means option A will be right answer for this particular one. The reform did not lead to immediate privatization of public sector bank. Instead, they focus on strengthening the banking sector. Next one, camels. I hope you heard about this particular one. So this is a measure which is provided by BCBS to check the performance of banking entities, right? But it got replaced with inroads. So nowadays we have inroads. So now the question is about the CAMEL's abbreviation. So CAMEL rating system implemented as part of banking supervisory reforms include which of the following components? So CAMEL stand for what? Basically, it is capital adequacy, A for asset quality, M for management, E for earnings, L for liquidity, and S for sensitivity to market risk. So basically what we are generally doing, based on these 6 parameters, we are rating a bank. So we are generally judging the performance of that particular bank. So capital adequacy, do they banks meeting with the capital adequacy requirement or not? Asset quality, basically the comparison of their net non-performing asset with their total asset. Management effectiveness, how they are using the resources. Then E for earnings, year on year basis earning. And L for liquidity, how they are managing liquidity along with their solvency. Sensitivity to market risk means if there is some risk occur in the market, how they are dealing with that particular situation, or how their assets are sensitive with their that associated risk, and what is the risk mitigation plan for that particular one. Okay? So capital adequacy, no. Not administration, no. Cost efficiency, no. Capital adequacy, asset quality, management, earning, liquidity, and sensitivity to market risk. So these were the, like, this is basically a straightforward abbreviation of CAMELS itself. Okay? So this is the abbreviation basically, and based on these parameters, we are generally judging the performance of bank itself. Okay? Second phase, Narsimham Committee 2. In 1998, government set up Committee on Banking Sector Reforms in India under the chairmanship of M. Narasimhan in order to review the progress of banking sector reforms to date and chart a program of financial sector reforms necessary to strengthen the Indian financial service system and make it internationally competitive. So deregulation of branch licensing. So bank, they can open more and more branches. Prudential norms and disclosure requirements. Prudential norms, where we generally increase the CRAR by 1%. Earlier it was 8% in recommendation 1 of the Narsimham Committee. Now we increase it by 1%, which is now it become CRAR is become 9%. Then disclosure requirements. So bank, they have to disclose their like kind of liquidity status and other important reports on their website, and capital adequacy, which is something prudential norms is, again, it is linked with the NPAs and all those kind of things. Capital adequacy is directly linked with that CAR things. Okay? Next one, in 1998, government set up a committee on banking sector reforms in India under the chairmanship of N. Narasimhan and all. Which of the following statement about market, institutional, and legal technology reforms in India are correct related to banking system? Okay? So market reforms included the removal of administered, market reforms included removal of administered interest rate and the introduction of pure interbank call money market. Okay. Sarfazi Act was enacted in 2002. Sarfazi came in 2002 as to facilitate faster recovery and restructuring of bad loan, 100% true. The banking ombudsman scheme was introduced in 2016. No, it was not in 2016. It was 2014 or somewhere. To resolve the customer grievances. This is wrong. INF, INFNIET was established as a financial sector communication backbone. True. JAM Trinity Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile has been instrumental in promoting financial inclusion in India. The introduction of artificial intelligence in banking has increased the real-time data analytics. So this is also wrong. So market reforms included the removal of administered. So this is also true. So 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. So A should be right answer for this particular one. Yes. So only two statement was wrong. It was 1995. Sorry, how I missed this one. So 1995. The first time when we come up with this banking ombudsman scheme. So it was 1995. Later on we have amendment, and the current one is integrated ombudsman scheme 2021. So statement 3 was incorrect. It was in 1995. 6 was incorrect. AI enhance real time data analytics. So not reduced its need and all. Next one. Which of the following statement regarding India's economic integration with global economy are correct? So India's economic integration with global economy, which we generally did through the globalization things. The ratio of international trade, export import as a percentage of GDP peaked in 2011 before declining due to India's shift toward the self-resilience and reduce dependence on trade. Okay. Despite increasing foreign capital inflow, Indian economy remain relatively the first statement true. Okay, relatively isolated from the external shock. No, you cannot be isolated if you are part of the, like, see, if you have interconnectedness. Okay, it is, if something will happen in US, that is definitely going to harm your market itself, as we have experienced this during the 2007-8 global financial crisis. Okay, तो अगर यूएस पे इफेक्ट, लाइक वी इंडिया एंड यूएस इकोनॉमी दे हैव काइंड ऑफ इंटरकनेक्टेडनेस, अगर वहां पे इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा तो उसका इम्पैक्ट हमारे ऊपर भी देखने के लिए मिलेगा, एंड वी हैव लाइव एग्जांपल्स आल्सो. सो दिस इज रॉन्ग. वी आर नॉट आइसोलेटेड फ्रॉम दीज काइंड ऑफ external shock. The volatility of foreign capital flow poses challenges for policymaker, as sudden reversal in FDI and portfolio investment can impact economic stability. 100% true. This happened so many times now when US or any other foreign investor, if they withdraw money from our market, that is definitely going to impact our economy. So these, like FDI, still we have they have long-term investment, but these FIIs, they impact they directly impact our stock market. ठीक है, कई बार आपने देखा होगा ना कि there are some data कि FIIs withdraw their money from Indian economy or Indian market. So due to that, we are facing a sort of decline in Indian market. So that is the kind of things. So true statements in 1 and 3. That means option C will be right answer for this one. So statement 2 was incorrect. While India has some capital control, it is not isolated from the external shock. So we have example of global financial crisis in other also. Which of the following statement accurately describe factor leading to India's 1990s economic crisis and subsequent reforms? So crisis 1990, like क्या ऐसे रीजन थे जिसकी वजह से we entered into those particular crisis, and the outcome. So after this economic reforms and all, and the outcome of the consequences of that crisis, as well as this major step taken by the government. Major step was toward the economic reform policy. So India economic crisis was triggered by excessive fiscal deficit, true, leading to a sharp rise in government debt. 100% true, first one. The counterparty face a the country face a serve balance of payment crisis. We have only 1.1 billion US dollar forex reserve, partly due to a decline in foreign remittances and external shock. 100% true. The government import substitution policy successfully reduced the current account deficit. No, they failed during that particular period. that make this statement wrong. The coalition government instability led to a loss of confidence among foreign creditors and NRIs, or worsening the capital flow. So basically what we have, other investors or other countries, they do not have confidence on Indian governments or Indian economy and all. So that generally make our condition much worse. Much worse. Then deficit financing and supply aside constraint contributed to a persistently high inflation during that particular crisis too. In 1991, economic reforms introduced a rapid transition to a fully liberalized capital account. See, this statement is wrong. Economic reforms introduced a rapid transition to a fully liberalized. No, it is a gradual, not the fully liberalized things and all. So this makes statement 6 wrong. India's foreign exchange reserve fell to a level insufficient to cover even a month's worth of import, leading to economic emergency. It was 1.1 billion US dollar that time. ठीक है, तो जिससे हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ 3 महीने की ट्रेड आपका कर पा रहे थे. तो this is also true. So we have to find out the correct statement. Yes, most accurate related to the financial crisis. Okay. So 1 2 4 5 7 1 2 4 1 2 4 5 7. So B should be right answer for this one. Okay. So statement 3 and statement 6 are wrong in this particular case. Other all statements are correct. Okay. So B is the right answer. Statement 3 was incorrect. The import substitution policies actually contributed to current account deficit rather than reducing this. 6 is incorrect. India followed a gradual and calibrated capital account liberalization, not a abrupt transition. Okay, so that is the one. Next one. Who chaired the committee on reforms of insurance sector, which recommend opening up of insurance industry to private players? I hope you remember this name. Okay. With the recommendation of this committee itself, we form insurance regulator, which is known as IRDA, okay, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, and we passed IRDA Act 1999 also. Okay. So it is R.N. Malhotra committee. Okay. So R.N. Malhotra committee will be right answer for this one. In wake of financial liberalization during early 90s, the committee on reforms of the insurance sector, chairperson was Sri R.N. Malhotra, recommended in 1994 the opening up of the insurance sector to private participation and the institution of separate regulatory and development authority. Accordingly, the IRDA Act was enacted in 1999 and a separate regulatory development authority was set up, which start working from April 2000 itself. Next one. During financial crisis, the biggest challenge faced by financial market is an increase in speculative trading, no. Excess liquidity lending, no. Leading to inflation, no. A breakdown in trust and loss of liquidity, yes. This we face during global financial crisis 2007-8 itself. Okay. Excessive control of government, no. So option C will be right answer for this one. Okay. Next one, guys. What was the Narsimham Committee to recommendations regarding the capital adequacy requirements? CAR. So Narsimham Committee 1, who generally recommended CAR, capital adequacy ratio, in alignment with BCBS, that was 8%. So it is 1992. But in 1998, when we review the banking sector reforms, which is done by Narsimham Committee itself, they increase the CAR to by plus 1%. So after that, we generally follow 9%. Okay? So nowadays, it is 9%. So option B will be right answer for this one. Okay? Earlier it was 8%, we increased it to 9%. It is known as CRAR. Okay? So Narsimham Committee to 1998. Okay? So the major focus during that period, strengthening a bank in India, narrow banking, start this capital adequacy ratio increased to 9%. We have discussed all these particular one, even in today's session itself, which get implemented from this. Next one, bank ownership, a review of banking laws. So these were the major. Apart from this, These major 5 recommendations. The committee also recommended faster computerization, technology upgradation, training of staff, depoliticizing of bank, okay, professionalism in bank, and reviewing the bank recruitment process also. So these were the recommendation of Narsimham Committee 2. Okay, next one, guys. So, which of the following statement regarding financial sector development post global financial crisis 2010 to present are correct? Okay. So, it is post global financial crisis 2007-8 crisis basically. So, after the period is 2010 to present. Okay. So, what new changes we did? The introduction of Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and leveraging of the JAM Trinity aimed at financial inclusion. True. Nachiket More Committee recommendation of payment bank and small finance bank. It was Usha Thorat. Okay. Usha Thorat Committee. So this is again the PJ Nayak Committee was set up in 2013 to review governance of board. It was not governance of board. It was 2014, not 2013. Okay. To review the governance of board of banks in India. Okay. So it is something related to corporate governance, or like after this we have a division of board of directors. So nowadays we have three type of directors in our bank board. Okay. It is one is आपका promoters director, one is independent, another one is your employee who got promoted, who working with the banking system from last many years. ठीक है. Ease enhance access and service excellence agenda was introduced to improve the performance of public sector bank in 2018. Even 2015 there was one scheme called Indradhanush. We have discussed that one also. Again, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was implemented to facilitate a speedy resolution in 2016 itself. Okay, so this is also correct. So the only statement incorrect is 3. So 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. Yes. So option D will be right answer for this particular question. Okay. So it was. So PJ Nayak Committee was set up in 2014 its purpose was to review governance in bank board and recommend reforms itself. Okay. So steps toward the liberalization of other sectors. So these are some areas, like import de-licensed, import duties reductions, production licensing done away with license Raj abolishment, trade policy reforms, fiscal reforms, exchange rate unpegged. Then we have foreign exchange regulation relaxation through FEMA Act, FDI norms, disinvestment in public enterprises. Okay? So these are some major reforms which we have did in last few years. Our government, they have applied this one. So toward the liberalization things, and so we can have an active participation in the global economy itself, right? RBI, who generally come up with these kind of measure during this one. So policy rate under LAF was reduced to 9% to 4.75%. Policy reverse rate आपका reduction of CRR and reduction of SLR. Then interest rate deregulation was also part of this one. Okay? So now the summary, quick summary. Okay? So economic reforms aimed at expanding private sector participation in Indian economy growth. Since 1980, India has seen a number of changes that fit into two categories: 1980s reforms influenced by Washington consensus doctrine, ठीक है, Washington DC basically, ठीक है, हमने जिस पर discussion किया था, the reform that stated in the early 90s in the domain of industry, commerce and investment, and subsequently agriculture were considered broader in scope. Reason for the economic reforms of 1991 are adverse balance of payment position, poor performance of public sector enterprises, drop in foreign exchange reserve, large government debt, inflationary pressure, and straitened condition laid by the World Bank and IMF. Okay. The Green Revolution and industrial modernization have transformed Indian economy from an economic lizard to one of the world fastest or most emerging economy in the world. The three main pillars of economic reforms are known as LPC: liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization, privatization, globalization. We have discussed these one. Banking sector reforms are aimed at making Indian financial sector efficient, competitive, and stable. The most significant reforms in the currency market was the transition from single currency fixed exchange rate to आपका controlling the level of rupee against the basket of currencies, then to a market determined a floating rate exchange. So we come up with LERMS, Liberalized Exchange Rate Management System, 19 March 1992. The substantial inflow of foreign investment into India recent years reflect the country's strong economic potential and execution of important policy. Like as we give in reference, like we have 7 billion US dollars of forex reserve as of now. So with that particular one, we can do import for next 18 to 12 months without any problems. So this is it. So this is all about the economic reforms. So if you'll go through this book also, you'll see in economic reforms, one is the general idea about the reforms. Another one is financial sector reforms, where they have covered banking or capital, insurance, or these kind of things. So which we have discussed in this today's session, and this is definitely going to help you out in your upcoming examination. All right. So this is it from my side, guys. Thank you for joining this session. Thank you for watching this session. I hope you enjoyed the entire session. So do share your feedback in the comment section. Those who are watching on app, they can share me your feedback or your doubt through the chat, or else you can join this Telegram group and you can ping me directly. Or if you want to talk, so I'll just provide you my number also, so we can have a conversation. All right. So this is it from my side. Thank you for watching this session. Thank you for joining this. Bye bye. Take care all. I'll see you tomorrow with unit number 8. So bye bye. Take care all. Have a nice day. Thank you.